Welcome to the Paradise Paradox. My name is Kurt Robinson.
And my name is Aaron Battle.
So today we're talking about society. We're talking about a moral compass. Do people actually have a moral compass? Do people actually know how to think about morality? Is philosophy something that's very absent from our society, so people don't actually know how to analyze their decisions to see if they are moral?
Definitely. People are not thinking.
Yeah.
Anymore. No, today we're going to talk about that ability to critically map that compass. So to understand where you are and to take your decisions without being distracted or influenced by maybe programming from your parents or, you know, what society might lead you to think is okay. Also, any previous education of, we talk about parenting, we talk about how to be responsible adults and how to train a dog.
How to train your little 2-year-old pug named Wally, specifically. Now,
just that one.
Yep. So, are people in society actually moral, or do they just have a bunch of rules that they go by? And when they don't have rules for a situation, maybe they just fly off the track and don't know what to do. Or if they're in a situation where they're not held accountable, maybe they're going to do something nasty. And that's what was seen recently with the tragic case in Chihuahua. And Aaron will tell us about that in a second. So press like on Facebook, hover over the get notifications button on hover over the like button on Facebook and press the get notifications button, because that means you get to see us every time we post something that gets into your face and starts eating you from the inside like a brain-eating parasite. And press like on YouTube, press a subscribe button on YouTube, press a subscribe on iTunes and Pocket Casts so you can get our brilliant, amazing, shining episodes of pure light delivered to your phone or other device. And also, we love you guys so much. We absolutely appreciate everybody listening out there. We also appreciate it when you interact with us. Send us a tweet on Twitter. I'm at TroubleBubble.
At BattleAZ.
Yep, and we also love it when you go on donate.theparadiseparadox.com and leave us a few bones. When we open up our accounts, like a blockchain account, our PayPal account, and we see that there's a little bit of money going in, every cent brings a little tear to our eyes. Every Satoshi makes us say, wow, we really exist. It affirms our
We're real
existence,
people.
Restores our damaged self-esteem, and makes us feel good all around. So please do a little bit of that. Suggested donation, $1 per episode that you like. And go on theparadiseparadox.com. If you're going to buy something from Amazon and you know you're going to buy $1 million, gazillion, trillion worth of crazy equipment so you can fake a moon landing, we want you to go on theparadiseparadox.com, click on Shop Amazon, and that'll take you through to Amazon. It's not going to cost you any extra. It doesn't cost you any inconvenience. It's not going to cause a mind-bending dwarf to appear behind you and pull your pants down while you're not looking. All it's going to mean is that we receive a little bit of the commission. So if you're going to buy something from Amazon, please do that and show a little support, show a little love, show us that you care, opening your Care Bear power and projecting a giant heart towards us. Thanks, Braveheart. No, Lionheart. Thanks, Lionheart, for sending those donations. So let's get into it.
That was much better.
So, Aaron, you had a news article that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, yesterday it came to, I don't really watch the news, so I don't read much of the news unless it gets posted to my Facebook. But Joanna came home from work and it was quite on topic that, you know, something happened here in Mexico that was disturbing to many people. So north of Mexico in Chihuahua, there was a group of 5 kids that decided to invite out a sixth kid and play kidnapping. And, I guess that sounds fairly normal, doesn't it? I mean, I used to play cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers as kids.
Yeah.
So, of course the kids started...
Somewhat normal.
yeah, well, I mean, kids will be... Boys will be boys. But in this case, it involved kidnapping the kids. So the dynamics of the group were there was two 15-year-old boys, there was two 13-year-old girls, and a 11-year-old boy, and a 6-year-old boy. So they decided to pick on the 6-year-old boy and play kidnap, and so that involved tying his hands and feet up, and then somehow it escalated to them holding a stick against his throat, where he started to suffocate. Then that escalated to, I mean, this is what the article says, that they started...
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I mean, I'm only reading here. So they stoned him, they removed his eyes, they suffocated him, stabbed him in the back about 20 odd times, and then burnt him and buried him. After all that, they covered the shallow grave over, and they put a dead animal they must have found nearby on top of where the grave was, so that any animals that came to dig him up or any smells, there'd be that distraction. So this happened last Thursday, which was half a week ago.
Okay. All right. Just in May 2015, as time of speaking. So, and you said this happened in Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, you definitely have to wonder what would lead somebody to do something like that. Like it's not like, I mean, you can hear about stories of murder that are motivated by passion or by greed, and like someone offing their rich husband or something like that. But in this case, it's not like, it doesn't seem like the kids had any such intention. It seemed like they were just like playing some kind of strange game, and maybe it got out of hand, or they just thought it was fun or something. Like, how could you even speculate what was going through these kids' minds at that time?
I've tried.
Yeah. I
mean, you wonder, like, out of the 5 kids that were watching, I mean, they couldn't have all taken part at the same time. I mean, obviously there was someone that initiated the escalation.
Right. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, if it was one of them the ringleader and one of them was more dominating, and I also wonder, like, everybody has these strange impulses sometimes, like you feel like poking somebody with a stick, or doing something cruel to somebody just because. I think that crosses everybody's mind at some stage. But of course, if you're a well-adjusted, sensible person, then you don't act on that urge. You just set it aside and say, no, that's not an acceptable range of behavior. And so I'm just going to leave that and continue on my life in a normal, peaceful manner. But these children didn't have that, or didn't exercise that kind of common sense, if you can call it that, or, common good nature.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you think you can make up as much as you want to say, obviously the 11-year-old boy, kind of hard to imagine he was the ringleader. But then you think, maybe the girls that were involved, maybe one of the two 15-year-old guys. I mean, at 15, you have a good idea of what you're doing. And, even if, say, one of the younger children, started going too far, like, you don't throw rocks at people. Maybe as kids, I mean, maybe I throw a rock or two at someone, but I mean, not in any intention to really hurt them, like to kill them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really hard to understand. But the police, in the brief sections that they quoted here in the news, from the report, they say that it's not it's not that surprising, or it's not that unexpected when you got, Mexican culture is quite violent, and there's these sort of cases on the news all the time. So, so the children are kind of a little bit, to an extent, desensitized to the whole notion of, I mean, I was more shocked that kids knew to bury him and put an animal on top.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't even come to my mind. When I heard that part of the news, I was like, wow, they really knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they had some kind of idea. Obviously, they weren't good enough because they were found, apparently.
What happened was one of the younger kids confessed to his mum. Because, I mean, obviously the police were turning her up to the houses wondering, have you seen little Christopher? And no one's seen him.
Juan Miguel Lopez Gotija Jr.
I had the article here, but I lost it. Oh, wait, here it is.
Oh, his name was Christopher. I thought you were just blanking.
No.
Okay.
Poor little bugger. No, Christopher Raymundo Márquez Mora.
Yeah, so poor Christopher. But it makes me think about a few things like these cases. Like there's a couple of movies that are made about these peculiar cases, like the case of Sylvia Likens. This movie was made about it in 2007. The Girl Next Door, it's called. It's not to be confused with the other Girl Next Door, which was released in 2004. That one is about the neighborhood porn star. This one, the Girl Next Door 2007, is about a very different theme. The case of Sylvia Likens. So in 1965, this young girl went to live with her aunt because something happened to her parents, whether they were in a car crash or something tragic happened to her. Her parents weren't able to take care of her. She went to live with her aunt and her aunt's 3 sons. And in the movie, I'm not entirely sure how accurate the movie portrayal is, but the basic story is the same. So it's kind of tragic. What happens is the mother is somewhat angry, or she has a jealous nature, or she's like a little unhinged, or who knows what. Some even claim she was secretly a Satanist. I'm not sure if that has any validity. The thing is, this woman was a bit strange in that she would let the kids come and go. Like, these are only young children, like 12, 13, 14 years old, and they would come around and smoke cigarettes and drink beer, and she didn't mind. She would even give them beer. And then with the cousin, they started getting worse and worse towards this cousin. Or the niece started being more and more cruel. Like the mother would pick on her, and then it gets to the case where you can see her like strung up in the basement and being tortured. People extinguishing their cigarettes on her, sexually abusing her, all this really nasty stuff. And in the movie, there's a key scene, and the neighbor is there, and the neighbor is more or less the hero of the movie. Unfortunately, doesn't quite make it in time. But the thing is, then the neighbor is there, and it's like, hey, this is going too far. We shouldn't be doing this. And the young boy says, the young cousin says, we have permission. So it's like, it doesn't matter what we do because, our mom isn't going to punish us. And I wonder what this says about people, if that's an accurate representation of the mentality. Like, if you're allowed to do something, does that mean, well, maybe you go ahead and do it? Like, if you're in this situation where there won't be any consequences, what are you going to do? Are you going to hold back? Are you going to exercise restraint? Or are you going to let loose all of your weird and, irrational impulses on somebody who can't defend themselves?
Yep. I think a lot of people do let loose. Once they cross that line, it's really hard to pull yourself back into that moral lane where you don't go either right or left, and you stay true to what you believe. But when you don't really feel anything, it's a slippery slope.
So that does make me question. Like, I think a lot of people don't really have an idea of what morality is, and philosophy remains a very unpopular subject. People don't stop to question their moral choices. I'm sure they do, but not very frequently. And like with the case I brought up the other week on Facebook, where with the Bali 9 being executed by the Indonesian government, and people on my Facebook are just like, yeah, fucking kill him. I'm like, what? That's it? Like, just let him die? That's what you have to say about this matter? That is what all of your careful, pensive philosophical thought has led you to? Just fucking kill them? And that's disgusting. And I can't believe sometimes that there are people like that. But this is the question about the whole condition, that people don't seem to have a moral compass. They don't necessarily know what right and wrong is. Maybe they just know what's socially acceptable.
I guess the interesting point here is that you don't realize you need to think.
Yeah.
Because I've never thought about, do I think or not? Obviously, I do think because I'm doing things a little bit different than other people.
Yeah.
But for the biggest part of my life, I wasn't thinking.
Right.
And I was kind of just following suit or doing as I was programmed. And I think a lot of us do, and we don't realize that we are required to think. Well, I mean, that's because we're not required to think. That's because we have the whole system laid out in front of us. And thinking about our own psychological stance, or I guess even understanding who we are, is never questioned, or it's never raised in society. I guess, when you get to your mid-20s or early 30s and you think, am I really doing something meaningful with my life? That's when you start thinking and you just realize, well, you lost, the first big part of some of the best years.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess that's a key reason why we have these words, these phrases like midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is an indication that you went through your life without thinking, and then you all of a sudden you realize that you haven't done shit, you haven't accomplished anything, or what you've done isn't valuable, and you don't know what to do to fix it.
No, it's a scary place to be.
Yeah.
Because you realize I put all this work into where I am now. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to give it up. And, you might be happy in the career or in the studies that you've chosen, but, I've only got half a year left. I've only got that, that last thesis to write. And that's me. That's going to make me something. That's going to, I can identify with that vision of who I'm going to become. But they forget to be who they want to be, in the short term or in the day to day. Who
does that? People or you?
Well, no,
you're talking about your thesis.
Yeah. No, I threw that in there as kind of a funny joke. I've been through maybe 2 of these phases, like where it's like a semi-crisis of like, it's a good jolt. It's like, you're running, life's good, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm not with the right girl. Or, bam, I don't even know what I'm studying. I don't even know why I did this law degree or anything. Like, I started in design and I really enjoyed design, but there was no way I was going to follow through with that. It was just because it was cool.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of some of the culture's got a big part of it. Otherwise, these crises wouldn't exist.
Yeah, culture, education,
and programming.
Yeah.
There's a psychologist, Erik Erikson. I don't know where I find these names. He's a real dude. In the 1960s.
He's a Viking, right?
I hope so. He's got pigtails. Erik Erikson, 1960s. He used the term epigenetic principle of analyzing what this is, how children just follow their parents into the same sort of channel of work. Or, he goes into more detail. There's obviously many different facets of that. But I think we can all see that, you know, we all grow into our parents in one way or another.
Yeah.
Personally, in my marriage life, I can see aspects of my dad in me, and it's like now the best part is now I get to choose whether I accept that or whether I change it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't choose because they're not aware.
Yes, I think so, and that's awareness is like that first step. Yeah.
But that's also the development of your compass. Like you need to know where you're at, where you're going, and all that. Otherwise, you don't even realize that you need to make these moral decisions sometimes, and they might be fine for society to get on Facebook and write, kill them, those bastards, those drug dealers, or whatever, and and it's accepted, so it's fine. But realistically, how can you condemn anyone to death?
Yeah.
Full stop.
There's a maxim of law that says when a man's life hangs in the balance, no delay is too long. And I think I think the idea really, the way I interpret that maxim is to say, just don't kill him. That would be my idea. Any delay. Let the delay go on forever. That's works fine for me. These people have this idea about retributive justice, like it's the year 2015, and people are still out for retributive justice. Like it's not 6,000 years ago. The law of eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth should be long expired. I think that idea has lost its usefulness, but some people still think that.
You're talking about revenge, right?
Yeah.
Just straight out. That's like road rage. It's like someone took your spot or your park and you need to beat them before the next lights.
Yeah, or a car, they key their car or something like that.
It goes on forever. But you never win. It's like that vicious cycle of always feeling disheartened over something.
Yeah, dig 2 graves. The man who sets out for revenge digs 2 graves. Holding poison in your mouth with the intent that it will kill somebody else. Something like that.
I hope you don't have any funny friends.
What? Funny friends?
Yeah, when you're out drinking and your friends do something dumb and all of a sudden you don't realize that you're drinking and you either drink it and or you spray it out everywhere. Like imagine that.
Okay. You're going to spit poison into everybody's eyes, yeah. Okay.
Well, you take everyone with you. Because you don't want to. Well,
that's what you get for trying to poison me.
Yeah, you're all coming with me.
Yeah.
Or you swallow it yourself. That's kind of where you're going, right? Like
no. Yeah.
Well, either way, someone dies.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because you have this bit of revenge in your mouth, and you're going to swallow it. If you don't swallow it, it's just gonna eat away at you no matter what. Yeah. So I remember reading an article a few months ago, and it said, then I think there's some science to back this up, but I'll need to check, so we'll put it in the show notes. But the thing is, people who are congenial and nice, and they're not confrontational at all, those are the people who are more likely to go along with an unreasonable command. And the people who might seem cantankerous or mean or in your face, willing to confront you, willing to tell the truth, perhaps, and sometimes these people are unpopular. But a lot of the time, if these people are put in a tough position and they're told to do something which they know is wrong, those are the people who will stand up and say no. And those are the people you want in your corner, without question. So another movie which I thought was relevant was the Compliance, 2012. It came out. And this is also based on a true story. And it's bizarre. The whole case is bizarre. There was a guy, or perhaps there was a group of people in the United States making these prank calls to fast food joints, and they would call them up and tell them that they were a police officer or someone of authority, and slowly convince the staff to do more and more disturbing things to the point where they were strip searching one of their employees or even sexually abusing one of their fellow employees. And this just gets crazier because you realize there are scores of these cases, maybe 100 or 200 of these cases. Of course, there were a lot of cases where the people in the fast food joint were like, no, you're not a police officer. This is ridiculous. Click, hang up. And like some fast food chains were issuing memos about this, but everybody a lot of people just thought it was a joke. And so some of these fast food franchises didn't issue the memo because they were like, what are you talking about? Like, someone called up over the phone and because of that, somebody was sexually abused in the restaurant? That makes no sense.
You're crazy.
We can't release this memo. It's just going to make like someone's playing a joke on us.
It does sound like a good platform for reality television, though.
Wow, yeah, watching the surveillance cameras and see how far the person can push it. Or a game show, Can you get the employees to strip each other naked? Bing! That's $100,000. You win this episode of Persuasion.
I think we all won.
I don't think so. Depends if it wasn't consensual. How much is how much are the staff getting paid for this incident? Yeah, so of course then there are the experiments like the Milgram experiment, where someone is told that when they adjust this dial, they're going to be actually affecting how much electricity is put through somebody by electric shock in another room. And in some versions of the experiment, the other person tells the person with the dial that they've got a heart condition or they can't take anxiety or something like that. And they found this ridiculous amount of people at least in this under the guidance of Milgram, they found a ridiculous amount of people actually went through with it. The psychologist beforehand or the psychiatrist beforehand predicted that because only about 1% of the population is sociopaths or psychopaths, that would be the amount of people that would go through it, or the amount of people that were sadistic, dark personality traits. Those are the only type of people that would do it. But in the end, of course, they found that like more than 90% of people would go through to the extent that it would that it would hurt somebody and perhaps be enough electricity to kill them. In this simulation, which they thought was real.
Did they explain why they thought that?
Why they thought what?
Well, firstly, why they thought maybe only psychopaths would go that far. But then was there an idea why everyone, 90%, nearly everyone went through it? Was that affected the audience or affected not taking it seriously? Or?
Yep. Well, I'll get into some more details about the methodology, but the reason they thought it was 1% or a very low percentage was because they wouldn't expect regular people to want to inflict pain on others and put them at risk of their health. Mm. But what happened was with in the actual situation, what was happening was there's the experimenter sitting there in a white coat. And when the teacher, that is the subject who is adjusting the dial to adjust these fictional electric shocks, whenever the person adjusting the dial says, no, like this, I can't continue, this is not right, then the experimenter will say, continue. It is imperative that you continue. And then eventually they would say, I will assume any responsibility if anything goes wrong. So there's these two factors that come in here, is authority and removal of responsibility. So someone in charge is telling you that you don't have to worry about getting in trouble for it, and they're telling you in an authoritative way. So in another version of the experiment, it was a colleague or someone who the person saw as a peer telling them to adjust up the dial, and they found that people almost never did it. or it might have been even been that nobody did it. So it was the fact that this person was seen as a superior or holding a superior position, and because of that, they went through with it.
Of course.
Yeah. So I wonder if in cases like this, these kids in Chihuahua, like we were saying, is one of them the ringleader? Maybe it's just one person who's very sadistic and riles up the rest of them, tells them authoritatively, tells them, "Hey, I'm older, and you're going to do what I say."
See, I'm feeling it was one of the chicks.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it could be the influence, like these boys trying to impress them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I really got no idea what happened, but I can see that being like that falling into place pretty quick. And of course, any of the kids could have thought, well, if I don't play it cool, I could be next.
Mm.
And of course, they groupthink comes in. Better be part of the crew. Now, we're all in. As soon as they've realised they've gone too far, then it's like, I didn't want to hurt the kid, but you already had 20 stab wounds. I guess I just poke him once, just to keep peace, to stay good with the rest. It's really hard to say what happened, but
yeah.
I mean, of course, the authority, someone initiated this, and then everything kind of just fell into place. It's really unnerving thinking about that.
Watch us again at the Paradise Paradox. Watch us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Watch us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Tweet us on Twitter, and listen to us on iTunes or Pocket Casts.
One factor I think is really important in this, like you mentioned, how Mexican culture is very violent, and I think there's a lot of violence that comes from the parents. And I've already, like, I don't have any kids, but I'm already starting to think about this, like influence especially from Stefan Molyneux, the way he talks about like hitting your children. I'm like, no, that's like that to me, it's absolutely immoral. There's no way I would want to do that any more than I would want to hit any of my friends or my girlfriend or whatever.
Stefan says that it's cool to hit kids?
No, Stefan Molyneux said it's not cool, and he says that it may lead to mental problems, mental disorders. Yeah,
well, I mean, being a fan of some of his points of view, you caught me by surprise. I thought, it doesn't seem like him to want to hit your kids.
No, that's definitely the opposite of what he was saying. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Mexican culture. I mean, we look at the piñata. Mm. We're all about bashing shit.
I was at my friend Deirdre's birthday party the other night, and they went through like six of the girls were hitting the piñata, and then they put the blindfold on me, and I had a swing, and I still don't really know what happened, but I had the stick in my hand, swinging it at the piñata. I thought I had it in my sight, using the force. No, I don't know what I hit, but when I took the blindfold off, and the stick was in two pieces.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody told me what happened. So I don't know. It didn't work out.
It's because the blindfold's the authority. You put that on, like, I got a blindfold on. I'm not responsible. And everyone starts waving, and kids are getting hit. And
well, a few people almost got hit. There was a few close calls. Not from me, but...
If there's no close calls, it's not a good party. That's why they fill it with lollies. It's like, the reward and the risk.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned, like, talking about like physically disciplining your children with violence, and you said you might find it difficult in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, it's been an interesting point of view because, I mean, the last couple of years, I've come to realise that, there really isn't a need for violence in the household, in your life, in the community. Like it's just like the escalation from violence ends up in a world war. So, if you need to remove it, the key, from your lounge room, from your house, like, you get rid of it there, then there's really no conflict.
Yes. Yes.
So I thought, I've always grew up thinking, yeah, of course you got to discipline your kids, or they're going to turn out a little bit crazy, or they're not going to be, good people. And I guess
that's that word discipline, and this is like a euphemism. Like, discipline, it's something good. Well, discipline, as you normally use it, it means to like self-discipline, like getting yourself motivated when you don't feel that motivated, doing things even if you don't feel like it. But in this sense, a lot of people use like beating the crap out of your child. That's not discipline. That's disgusting.
They got the lesson. I mean, now he gets it, right? You don't draw on the wall. He's 2 years old.
Yeah. He didn't understand it. He didn't. Yeah.
Well, I think most people our age would have grown up with discipline of a violent manner. I think that's quite normal. And of course, like in my house when I was growing up, my mum and dad, of course, being of the era, that was like a normal way to discipline your children.
Yeah.
I mean, I've later come to realize that, like I said, there's no need for it. But a good example was what I said to you, I might have trouble, holding back. And I guess the only way I can relate to that is with Joanna's dog, Wally. Like the other day, it ripped out all my pineapples, well, 2 pineapples. And I'm trying to grow pineapples. And I was like, of course, I put some, I guess, compost water on my pineapple, makes them grow better. And Wally must have smelt that and thought there's some gold at the bottom of this pot. I better get into it. So I've come home after a big day and I've looked at my patio and there's 2 pineapples, like fish out of their pond, and dirt everywhere. And Wally's looking at me like, "Hey, this is what I do. Are you proud of me?" Like, I swear, I saw him with his arms folded and he was looking at me like, "Look what I did."
On his back legs.
Yeah.
Looking like a bouncer.
Wally's
in his b-boy stance.
He crosses his back legs and he sits, and I swear he crosses his arms.
All right.
He does. He's a cool dog.
Chilling at the club in my b-boy stance, got my hoodie on and my gun in my pants because I'm fresh.
He can't breathe, but I'm sure he can rap.
All right.
And I was like, "That's it, Wally, you're going to get it." Like, and I'm looking for a stick or something, and it's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you're gonna punish this dog?" I am trying to train him. So I got like a squirter that I squirt water at him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like that. But I mean, that's is that violent? Squirting water at your dog?
I don't know. It's definitely the low end. I wouldn't call it violence, but I don't know.
He doesn't
I don't
like
know how that fits in, but I guess you're going to have it's difficult. It's difficult with dogs. You're going to have a way to communicate with them.
Yeah.
But that's not my area of expertise. But I have heard, like, friends of mine that have dogs, they say, yeah, we use peaceful training. So there are definitely ways to do it. I don't know what they are, though.
Well, I mean, my pineapple survived, so
right.
So there's no casualties. And, and Wally's still Wally. But, I mean, I can see that. Like, I saw that example. Like, I could feel like there was like I need to do something here. And I thought, well, where is that coming from? Is this my epigenetical inheritance of parents and their parents and civilization and cultural society telling me that I need to take out this feeling of something didn't go my way or this shouldn't have happened, so I need to attack it with violence?
Yeah, well, one thing I have heard, it's a slight deviation from that, but I can't answer your question, but I think it's mainly about just the way you were raised. But what I've heard as well is that the idea of raising children didn't come in until the agricultural era. So when people were still living nomadically, and they didn't grow crops or anything like that. They just moved from place to place. Their connection with nature was similar to their connection with children. Like, you don't force a plant to grow. You don't need to encourage a plant, or you don't need to slap a plant when it doesn't grow correctly. And likewise, their attitude to children was you don't need to do anything to a child other than be there, and be the friend, or be a guide, I guess is the better word. Yeah.
Yeah, like the example role model.
Yeah. That's right. And that's what I heard as well. I mean, of course, humans are herd animals, and elephants are also herd animals. And what tends to happen with elephants, if they grow up without any adult elephants, then of course they don't have these role models. And what happens is there's a high degree of delinquency among these elephants, which sounds like quite a strange thing on its surface, but these elephants, instead of living peacefully and respecting each other, they'll become violent, they'll stampede cities and all sorts of silly stuff, which they most likely would not do if they had proper parenting. And it's kind of an interesting analogy.
Yeah, I never thought of that, but that makes sense. I mean, most elephants that you see on YouTube that are going wild are either in a circus or they're in a small pen.
Yeah. Elephants are very interesting animals. But I think about this. It's a kind of cycle of violence, and a lot of people say stuff like, "Well, my parents beat me, and I turned out okay." But that's what you call a post hoc ergo propter hoc conclusion. It's just like saying, "Oh, well, I never wear a seatbelt, and I never got into an accident." Well, who cares? I mean, that doesn't actually prove anything. It's almost entirely meaningless. I mean, it's like one case out of thousands. People have conducted studies and shown that beating your kids leads to mental disorders. But the other way to look at it is to say, "Oh, okay, you turned out all right, but you think it's a cool thing to do to like whack your 4-year-old child. Did you really turn out all right?"
Well, I guess the question is, the 4-year-old child is not going to turn out all right.
Yeah, well, they might not. I mean, it really depends. It depends on the child. It depends on a lot of factors. But maybe that 4-year-old child will grow up again and decide to inflict pain on his child. So, in any case, it's not really cool.
Yeah, to break the chain.
Yeah.
Then there's no waiting for. Well, then the 4-year-old child did turn out okay, or did turn out okay. I guess you have the choice to break that chain. I guess that's kind of the taking the action and making the choice to look for other ways. Yeah.
And I remember growing up in my house. My parents did use this kind of violence to raise us, and I think probably they used less and less as they went through the kids. So I'm the third child. Maybe I didn't receive it so bad, but upon reflection in recent years, I thought about like when my older brother. And my older brother was trying to look out for me, but what he would do, if he saw me doing something like crossing the road while the little red man was there, he would come up and punch me. Why? Why did he do that? Like, why would he think that's an appropriate thing to do? He's actually hitting me because he wants to take care of me. How perverse is that? Think about that. And I remember one time and he probably doesn't even remember this, but one time I was like, he pushed me onto the bathroom floor and he was like standing on my head. Now that's not a sane, normal thing to do, but maybe it is if you've been taught by violence.
How's that relationship now with your brother? Like, all cool? Like you said, he probably doesn't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't talk to him all that much. but it's amicable, sure.
I think I can reflect the same way and say that, you know, in my family it was the same. You know, as we grew up, there was pretty less and less of the, you know, violent nature of discipline. But I mean, I can see it that, you know, I pretty was the older brother that was punching everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a thing that we all go through when people are violent to us. It's not a surprise. Like, it doesn't come from nowhere. Kids are violent a lot of the time because people are violent towards them, and it's this complete, like, topsy-turvy, upside-down world. Like, everybody knows it's not all right to assault somebody or commit battery against somebody, but when it's your kid, open season. No, it's nuts.
I guess, at what point do you realize you can choose not to? Like, you know, I said, you know, we all have a choice.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, if that's what Dad did and that's what his dad did, it's like, you know, I'm just, that's just who I am. Right?
Well, that's a scary idea, who you are as a child beater. But, you know, our grandparents, well, maybe not our grandparents, maybe our great-grandparents or the great-great-grandparents, maybe the grandfather hit the wife. People don't do that anymore because some people still do it, but at least it's not socially acceptable. You're not going to be proud of it. You're not going to flaunt it.
Easy to get away with anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, wives talk these days.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even if times when they did talk and they say, "Oh, my husband beat me," and that was like a normal thing, so there's nothing a woman could do about it. Yeah, well, these days it still happens. Actually, I think it might be more common, the reverse situation where a woman is violent towards a man, but because that's more socially acceptable still.
It is acceptable.
Yeah, like you can see these videos where a man comes up to a woman on the street, or they're fighting, and the man starts hitting her, and everybody comes over and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing, bro? Settle down. Like, what do you think this is?" And with the opposite situation, people will be like, "Ha, look at that guy getting beat up by his girlfriend. What a laugh."
You know what I was surprised about a couple of years back? Was that a show called Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
And I think Snooki got belted at the bar. And I was almost surprised that they would air that. It's like, I can't remember who the characters were, but, you know, someone, I don't even know if they meant to punch her or not, but she got hit. She got punched square in the face, you know, got knocked to the ground. And even then when I saw it, I thought that was so, like, graphic to see a female take a full blow that, you know, I questioned whether that should even be on television.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually.
But it was prime time US international A-grade television.
Yeah, well, you can see that people watch Cops, and the cops do the weirdest thing. They're like, "Oh, this guy won't take his hands out of his pockets," and then they take him down, like tackle him, slam him against the concrete, and people get excited about that, and that's some kind of reflection of our culture.
Yeah, that's definitely a cultural thing. I think we are changing though. Like it is changing. I just don't see it changing fast. Yeah.
And I think, well, I wonder how long it took for, like, wife beating to to cease being acceptable. I'm sure it took many, many generations. But now people are definitely asking this question. I'm asking a lot of people these questions, and they don't always like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I recently, being in a married relationship, you know, it's, I guess these sort of situations are, I mean, not that it's ever come, you know, it's even crossed my mind. Yeah. But being in the relationship, I wonder, you know, I look at other couples that, you know, that something's going on, you know, black eyes and things kind of give it away. And you wonder, like, how did it come to that? Like, what level of frustration or inability to communicate must you reach to want to knock out your wife? I can't compute that.
Yeah, this is the thing, because if when you're growing up, people can be very impressionable when they're quite young, and if they don't get taught communication skills, then and they get taught violence instead, then that's always going to be a last resort for them. So especially when they get frustrated, like cross that line. That's it. I don't even know how to, I think it gets to this point where people are like, I don't know how to explain myself, or I don't know how to make you see things my way. I don't know how to logically convince you. I can't calm myself enough. I don't have the emotional intelligence. And so they hit people just as they were taught.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, let's stick with Mexican culture.
Yeah.
I think we're in a world that's very machista, very men.
Yeah, very macho.
Macho men.
Male-dominated.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially in Mexico. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And we can't talk about emotions. Like, a man can't be upset.
Really?
Yeah. But then, I mean, not without a good 3 cawamas down. And then all of a sudden there's a group of men crying together or sobbing in a corner of a party. And then that's the uncle business. That's totally cool.
All right.
It's a crazy culture. I like it. But you can't talk about your emotions. Like if a guy's whinging in Mexico, what is he?
A faggot. I think that's the translation, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not even if he's whinging. I mean, that's just he's talking about his feelings. That's not on.
Yeah.
I think that's also like an inherited cultural issue. That's only going to give more power to, this type of behavior. Because there's no way of processing or communicating. Processing feelings, communicating feelings, there's no place for it in society.
Yeah.
So psychologically, there's a lot of time bombs walking around. I'm not sure of scientific terms for it, but being wound up and never being able to unwind, I think is a cultural problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like you can have all these emotions from things that happen and never being given a framework to say how to make sense of it. And yeah, it's just like throwing a bunch of chemicals in a pot in the kitchen and and not knowing exactly which ones or how to turn off the oven. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just my interactions of being here and married. It's almost like there's certain leeway that Mexican men have, especially married Mexican men, where it's like, well, he didn't come home for a couple days, and it's like, well, just make sure that everything's nice when he comes home.
Make sure that everything's nice.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's culturally accepted that, I guess, that the Mexican men need to just take off for a bit.
Okay.
It's almost like.
Well, but then why do you need to make sure everything's nice when he comes home? That sounds like this 1950s housewife thing. Is that what it is?
I think that's still very much here. Yeah, it really is. Like we've gone back in time. I mean, I'm reflecting on looking at Joanna and her friends, and they're very accepting of. It's almost like there's this notion of if my husband cheats on me, I just hope that she's more attractive than me.
I hope that she's more attractive than me.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I would hate to be cheated on for someone less than me.
Okay.
How do you process that?
Yeah, there's so many. I don't know where to even begin with the analysis, but that's like a problem too, because okay, I hope she's more attractive than me, but that also means that he might leave you for her. It also means that you're not as attractive. You're not so attractive.
Well, this
in comparison.
This plays into the playing nice when he comes home. It's like there's still very much there. That 50s notion of being like the nice housewife is still very, very strong here in Mexico.
Yeah.
So to any of those 50s men They want a 50s wife. No, I can't say that.
Wow.
Like, I think Mexico will change, but it's in a slow course.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cultural and social problems here.
The cage, I think,
family especially. Yeah.
The economic situation. I think that there hasn't been any economic liberation of Mexican families. So those dynamics the structure of family is and the interactions have stayed very suppressed. The old school. I mean, if you're a wife with kids, then you can't expect to leave and have somewhere to go and have a man look after you. That's what I'm assuming you'd look for.
Yeah.
But there's just no money to do that, so you deal with it.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that humans can do so much, or humanity in general can do so much, achieve so much, produce so much, when we're so imperfect. It's like you're describing this kind of walking time bomb, Mexican man. And this is like, I'm sure that's not something that's entirely unique to Mexican culture. I'm sure that's something that goes on or has been going on all around the world, and probably in the past to greater and greater extents as you look back. People would get bloodier and bloodier. And I think it is quite remarkable how peaceful the world is, relatively.
Yeah, okay, relatively yes. Because if you take out some of the big actors in the violence internationally, like if you remove some of the signals for the wars, then really, I mean, most of us do live in comfortable communities, irrespective of what country you're in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the main thing, is definitely about stopping violence towards children and learning ways to communicate with them. And I think as adults, that's our responsibility to develop ourselves. We can control ourselves. We do have the tools that we need. We have the internet these days. We can read all kinds of personal development things about controlling your own emotions and finding ways to treat people more respectfully. And so I do think that is on us. That is our onus. That is what we have to do as adult humans, because the children don't have a choice, and they can be impressed with these type of negative behaviors very easily, and it can change someone's entire life. It can literally change someone's entire life if you have children and you're treating them in a way that belittles them or is damaging to them physically. Yeah,
that's kind of the thing with children, to understand that I know the cliches, children are children of the future, children are tomorrow's world.
Yes.
But I don't think very many cultures have accepted that. And when I was in Norway, they look at children as in little adults.
Yeah.
And that changes everything from a fundamental level. And you wonder why is Norway, top countries of the world?
Yeah.
And across,
because it's civilized.
Across many aspects.
Wow. Actually, military service is still mandatory in Norway, I think.
I don't think it's a bad thing, though.
I do. Mandatory anything is a bad thing. I mean, maybe the military service itself isn't so bad, getting physically fit, learning some skills or something like that. But the fact that it's mandatory, like we're going to force you, we're going to steal 2 years of your life from you. Yeah, that's not cool. It's definitely not cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah,
well, it's like it's like going to school. I think I said in an early episode, you try and make the most of a bad situation, and you try and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Press like on YouTube. Press like on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Pocket Casts. Follow us on Twitter @BattleAZ, @TroubleBubble, and show your support at donate.theparadiseparadox.com.
Mandatory military service.
Yeah, what a waste of time. Yeah, well, that was in the news the other day because one of the royal family, Prince Harry or someone, was like, maybe it's the man I am today. It should be mandatory for everybody. Like, what era are you living in? Living in the dark ages, man. Yeah. So, yeah, the thing is, about children. Well, about Norway. Like you said, they're treated like adults, and an idea will never be dismissed because it comes from a child. Like if you have an idea, it's just as valuable no matter who you are. And that's like, I haven't been to Norway yet, but I would like to visit there because I find that like almost this step in evolution. Because what normal people do, you know this quote, like regular people or mediocre people talk about people, and above average people talk about events, and superior people talk about ideas. And what people normally do, if you present an idea, if you say, well, this scientist thought this, or this, this philosopher thought this, Ayn Rand said this, and they will say, well, she was a stinking capitalist, right-wing bitch who was a hypocrite and liked to smoke or something like that. And then with that, they dismiss the entire body of work of a human being and dismiss all of her arguments. Like, I don't have to address their arguments. I addressed this one behavior that she had. This is the kind of attitude that people have. So in Norway, it's like they don't have that idea of ad hominem. Like they don't attack a person. They investigate the idea. Yeah,
they try to. It's, because of course, we're all people, irrespective of the society. It's a very interesting country because you do feel the difference.
Right.
Like just interactions with family, you feel the difference, and I think, most honestly, I know a handful of Norwegian people, and they are a little bit more open-minded, like just in general across the board. So I think that's definitely got something to say for their culture and education system.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, well, sometimes people mention to me this, like about beating children. Like they say to me, no, sometimes children need it. It's discipline or whatever. They make these 3 or 4 arguments and repeat them until it makes you sick. And I say, well, hang on. So what's the idea behind beating a child? I mean, is it going to get them to do what you say? And I remember I had one friend say to me, "Oh no, if they actually do what you say after that, you're actually lucky." I'm like, really? So you're telling me the only benefit of beating your children is that it might possibly, momentarily, result in compliance?
Yes.
The negatives. The child fears a reprisal. It learns to deceive you. The child learns to deceive you because it wants to keep things hidden if he knows it's going to get beaten. Inflicting pain on the child, like of itself, that should be enough. That should tell you this is not a good idea. If you're inflicting pain on someone to get what you want, that is not a good way to live your life. Child learns important lesson. People you love hurt you. Yeah.
That's a good one to learn.
Yeah, you're setting him up for a problematic life with that one.
It really sounds sick, doesn't it?
It does. It is sick. It is a sickness. And I think the cure is coming. I think people are getting switched on to this. Possible increased risk of mental or social disorder. Yeah.
Even just in our lifetime, in Australia, we've seen regulation, rules, some kind of protocols to, what is like abuse what is physical abuse when it comes to spanking or disciplining your children.
Yep.
And I mean, when I was growing up, it sounded silly because we all knew parents are going to hit their kids anyway, and it's all these examples.
Like, the law came in, and it's like you're not allowed to hit your child with any implement. And I was like, I remember all those times that my mom hit me with a wooden spoon. That was the favorite thing.
No, you got it off easy, man.
Well, the belt was always a big one as well.
But even when the rules came in, it was like, like the pinch under the arm and just wait till you get home. Things like this, or, you get to the car and, I'm talking for myself, but I mean, that was kind of the understanding. But I think what I'm trying to say here is that, when we don't need government to turn around and say, don't hit your kids. Because you said, like, we're moving towards an understanding and awareness.
Yes.
That, you don't need to do that. And I think
Yes.
you're right, but I think it's still to the individual to empower themselves
Absolutely.
with knowledge and understanding of the outcome.
Yeah.
And then to take it into their own self and decide, I'm going to perhaps not give in to my weakness and follow suit by doing what my parents did, because it feels natural. And I'll buy a book and research on how to parent.
Yeah, by several.
or just don't have kids. Like that's pretty common too.
Well, that is becoming more common these days. Well, my friend Erin told me a story. She has a young child, or two now, her boy Lenny. And she told me this story where Lenny had seen someone, like in the supermarket or something, seen a parent hit that child. And Lenny said, what is going on? I don't understand. And Erin was put in this awkward position of having to explain to a child that some parents hit their children. And Lenny said, but don't they love them? Tears in his eyes and everything. And that's, I think, out of the mouths of babes, this innocent eyes that see things and see things so clearly that it represents what we really need to do about that. Love means not hitting people.
I guess the next level to that is you can't let you shouldn't be hitting other people. Like I imagine in children watching their dad or mum hit someone else.
Yeah.
And it's like, children can't, they shouldn't witness that.
Yes. It shouldn't be a part of a modern person's life to witness violence on a regular basis. It's just not right. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think learning this type of moral compass and preventing this type of violence where children go out and join gangs or beat up homeless people or injure a poor 6-year-old child. I think that's where it comes in. I think it comes in this education, giving people the skills of philosophy, being able to think through what is right. So when they get into the situation that's unusual, that's unfamiliar, and maybe where they have free reign, they don't take advantage of that.
That's really the only way to change it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's the best one. It's the best one I have at the moment.
Well, I mean, looking at the news, I mean, that report where everyone's like, "Oh no, how do these kids? How do they do that? What's wrong with them? They're sick. There's something here. Like there's how did this happen?"
Yeah.
And there's obviously no mirrors there to realize. Well, how about you ask the right questions?
Yeah.
And, where do these kids grow up?
Yeah, that's right.
How much shit do they watch on television?
Yeah, that has something to do with it, I'm sure. Yeah. Cool. You got any last Last words? Final thoughts?
That was
One
my
of those things?
last thought. Kill the
right.
babysitter.
Okay. What? Okay. All right.
That's a cable guy. Cut the cable.
Cut the cable.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Turn the TV off.
All right. Call in the cable guy and get him to cut your cable. Okay.
Do it yourself. It's not that hard.
All right. My name's Kurt Robinson.
My name's Aaron Battle.
Press like on YouTube, press subscribe on YouTube, have a visit, have a perv, have a gander at our website, www.theparadiseparadox.com, and press subscribe on iTunes, press subscribe on Pocket Casts, and we really appreciate it when you go on donate.theparadiseparadox.com and say something, put your money where your mouth is, and say to us, Kurt and Aaron, we love you. We'll get down on our knees and pray before you and give you 1,000th of a Bitcoin to represent our love. And that is such a beautiful gesture when you do that. So that makes us feel good and fuzzy and warm inside. So when you say to us that our work is valuable, we absolutely do appreciate it. By going to donate.theparadiseparadox.com and giving us a few bones, suggested donation $1 per episode that you like. And also, if you're going to buy something on Amazon, another way that you can support us is go to theparadiseparadox.com, click on the Shop Amazon link, and it's not going to inconvenience you. It's not going to cost you any extra, but it does mean that we get a small commission. So if you're going to buy a 10-pack of chrome-plated dildos, make sure you follow that Shop Amazon link and get those delivered directly to your home in a sealed, discreet package. And, follow us on Twitter, at TroubleBubble.
At BattleAZ.
Sweet. See you next time.
I'm happy you said great.
Why?
Because, I don't know, maybe it's just my dirty mind.
Hey guys, if you want to check the full show notes for this episode, just head on over to www.theparadiseparadox.com/37. That's theparadiseparadox.com/37, and that'll tell you all the related links and interesting articles that we referenced during this episode. And thanks for listening, thanks for being cool, thanks for being awesome, and I'll see you next time.